Hey everyone, ready to get a little nerdy with us? Today we're doing a deep dive into the world of experimental economics.
Ooh, yeah, experimental economics.
We've got this awesome university lecture as our guide,
It's
and
good fun.
I think this is going to be way cooler than like sitting in econ class.
Definitely.
We're going behind the scenes to see how economists actually design these experiments to figure out how we humans make decisions.
Yeah, think of it like peeking into a scientist's lab.
Ooh.
But instead of bubbling beakers and stuff, we're watching real people make choices, and they're playing with real money.
Okay, now that sounds way more interesting than my chem lab.
Right.
So, before we jump into the actual experiments, can we just take a step back? What exactly is experimental economics?
Well, our lecture defines it as basically studying how people make decisions, but like in these controlled environments, right?
Hmm.
And they focus on three main areas. Individual decisions, how people interact strategically, think like games,
Okay.
and then how markets work.
Okay, so it's not all just like stock markets and GDP and stuff.
Yeah, no.
This sounds a lot more relatable.
Right, exactly. Like, think about those everyday choices you make. Like, do I want the donut or the fruit for breakfast?
Every day.
Or how you're going to split that restaurant bill with friends.
Yeah,
Experimental econ dives into the psychology behind all of that.
that's super cool.
Yeah.
And speaking of psychology, the lecture mentions this experiment early on called the Allais paradox.
Oh, yeah, the LA paradox.
And this is one that really messed with some classic economic theory.
Oh, yeah, that's a classic for sure.
Really?
It basically shows how people, even when it comes to money, don't always act in that perfectly rational way, like you'd predict.
Okay, so spill the tea. Tell me about it.
Okay, imagine you've got two choices, okay?
Okay.
Option A, it guarantees you $100. Option B, it gives you an 89% chance to win that $100, 10% chance you'll get $500, and then there's this teeny tiny 1% chance you get nothing. Which one are you going for?
I think I'd just take the sure thing, the $100.
Most people would.
Yeah.
Okay, now let's switch it up a little. Option C, it's an 11% chance to win $100. Option D, it's a 10% chance to win $500. What's crazy is studies show most people go for option D in this case.
So they're going for the slightly lower chance of winning, but potentially way more money.
Right.
That seems kind of counterintuitive.
Yeah, you'd think they'd stick with better odds, right?
Yeah.
That's what's so paradoxical about it.
Yeah.
You see, traditional economics, especially this thing called expected utility theory, assumes we make consistent choices based on just the potential gains and probabilities.
Uh-huh.
But the Allais paradox kind of throws a wrench in that
Oh, I see.
because people's choices, they shift depending on how those options are presented, like how they're framed.
Though even with money, we're not always these perfect decision makers.
Nope, not always.
Mm-hmm.
This simple experiment, it ended up challenging a core economic theory. It really helped kickstart this whole new field, behavioral economics, which factors in psychology, how our brains actually work.
Okay, so it's not just about the numbers, it's about how we think.
That's right.
So this Allais paradox, it's not just some theoretical brain teaser.
Right.
This actually reflects how we make decisions in the real world.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's why we buy lottery tickets even though the odds are terrible.
Exactly.
Or why we might pay extra for insurance just to avoid any risks.
Yeah, those real-world examples.
So are you saying that, to understand how people really behave, we need to move beyond those traditional economic models?
That's exactly what this is telling us.
Okay, so if experimental econ goes beyond those traditional theories, what are they really trying to do?
Well, our lecture, it lays out three main goals.
Okay.
First one, they're trying to put those existing economic theories to the test, like the one the Allais paradox challenged.
Okay.
See if they actually hold up when you look at real people's decisions.
So are they actually testing these theories in the real world?
Well, a controlled version of it, at least.
Okay.
The second goal is to uncover new patterns in behavior that those old models might miss.
Okay.
Like, how do people make decisions when it comes to fairness, trust, social pressure?
Okay, so it's not just about, what's the most economically rational thing to do.
Right.
There's all these other factors.
Exactly. The social and psychological stuff comes into play.
Yeah.
And then that leads to the third goal.
Okay.
They want to use all of these insights to design real-world solutions, almost like economic engineering.
Okay, so they're using what they learn in the lab to help people make better choices in their lives.
Exactly.
Like what, with saving for retirement or something?
Exactly. Like, for example, they found ways to design retirement plans that actually make it easier for people to save.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and that can have a huge impact, right?
Definitely.
Huge.
Okay, I'm officially interested. So what are some of the experiments they use?
All right, so two classic examples are the ultimatum game and the dictator game.
Okay.
And these, like, really show how experimental econ gets into the nitty-gritty of how we behave.
Okay, those names sound intriguing. Tell me more.
Let's start with the ultimatum game, okay? Imagine I give you 10 bucks.
$10. Okay.
Yeah, and I say, split it with me.
Okay.
You get to propose how we split it. Could be 50-50, you could be greedy, offer me $1, keep 9.
Right.
But here's the catch. I get to say yes or no to your offer.
Ah, okay, so there's strategy involved here.
Yeah, if you lowball me too much, I might just say no out of spite.
Even if we both end up with nothing.
Yeah, even then.
Wow.
Now, if we were both, like, perfectly rational, only cared about the money, you should just offer me the smallest amount, and I should take it.
Yeah, because something is better than nothing, right?
Exactly.
But I have a feeling it doesn't actually work out that way.
You're right. When they do this in the lab, the person offering, they usually offer, like, 40-50%.
Sure.
And the person on the receiving end, they often reject offers they think are unfair, even if it means they get nothing.
So even when there's actual money on the line, people are willing to walk away with nothing just because they think the deal's not fair?
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
That's really surprising.
It is. It tells us that we're not just driven by self-interest. This, like, sense of fairness that seems to be built into how we make decisions.
I wonder, when those people are offering a fair split, are they doing it out of actual fairness or because they're just afraid of getting rejected?
Yeah, good question.
Like, are they being altruistic or just strategic?
Well, that's where the dictator game comes in. It's similar, but this time I have to accept your offer, whatever it is. You're the dictator, you decide.
Okay, so this removes that fear of rejection.
Exactly.
If someone's only being fair because they don't want to end up with nothing, they'd probably offer a lot less in this game, huh?
You would think so, right? Yeah. Offers in the dictator game, they're usually lower than in the ultimatum game, but they're still surprisingly generous.
Really?
A lot of people still offer a decent chunk of the money.
So it's like a mix of things going on then, right?
Right.
People care about fairness, but they're also aware of how they'll look to the other person.
Exactly. These games show how complicated our decision-making is.
Yeah.
It's not just cold calculations. There's this whole web of factors influencing us.
Okay, this is really making me think about, like, how I negotiate things in my own life.
Right.
But hold on. How do researchers know that people are actually taking these games seriously? I mean, it's not real money, right?
That's a great point. And it brings up this really important part of experimental economics. Our source makes a big deal about using real monetary incentives.
So they're saying people behave differently when they know their choices will actually impact their wallet?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Think about it. If it's just a hypothetical game, you might be more willing to seem generous or make decisions that sound good.
Right.
But when it's your own money, you're more likely to show your true colors.
Yeah, like, it's one thing to say you donate to charity.
Exactly.
It's another to actually pull out your credit card.
Exactly. Actions speak louder than words, especially when it comes to your own cash.
I totally get it.
So that focus on real-world consequences, that's part of what makes this field so insightful.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, this is fascinating stuff. It feels like we're, like, peeling back the layers of human behavior here.
Yeah, one experiment at a time.
Now, the lecture also talked about all these choices researchers make when designing experiments, like one-shot versus repeated games, or stranger versus partner matching.
Yeah.
And I gotta be honest, I got a little lost in all those details.
Okay, let's break it down then.
Yeah, please.
So first, you've got one-shot versus repeated games. One-shot games are like those ultimatum and dictator games.
Yeah.
You play once, that's it. It's like a snapshot of your decision-making.
So it's about capturing those, like, gut reactions.
Exactly, those first instincts.
Okay.
But then you have repeated games where you play multiple rounds, sometimes with the same people. And that lets researchers see how behavior changes over time.
So it's like, do people learn from their mistakes?
Yeah, do they learn, or do they start thinking about their reputation?
Oh, okay, so it's like watching how people act when they know they might have to deal with each other again in the future.
Exactly.
Okay, and then what was that other one? Stranger versus partner matching?
Right, so that's the next choice. Are you interacting with the same people or with strangers?
I bet that makes a big difference.
It does.
Like if you're playing with a friend, you're probably more likely to cooperate knowing you'll have to see them again later.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Partner matching, it lets researchers study trust in relationships, how they develop, while stranger matching shows how people behave in more anonymous settings, where those relationships might not matter as much.
Okay, so it's like two different lenses on human behavior.
Yeah, two different lenses for
Mhm.
sure.
Okay, it's amazing how much thought goes into these experiments.
It really is.
Like every choice they make unlocks a different piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, a different piece.
Okay, and then there was one more thing, wasn't there?
Oh, right. There were those two design approaches between subject and within subject.
I'm a little fuzzy on that one.
Okay, so in between subject design, each person only goes through one condition.
Okay.
It's like comparing different groups, seeing how they respond to different situations.
So it's like comparing apples to oranges, seeing how different types of people react.
Exactly.
Okay.
But within subject design, the same person experiences multiple conditions. So it's like comparing apples to apples, seeing how one person changes.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Well-
so it's like taking one person and putting them through different scenarios and seeing how they adapt.
Exactly. That's it.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
It's a more personalized view of decision making.
I like it.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about the goals. We've talked about some of those fascinating games. We've talked about all the choices that go into designing these experiments, but I'm curious, like, who are the people actually participating in these studies? It's got to be mostly college students, right?
Yeah, you're right. Students are pretty common, especially in university settings.
Right, they're easy to find.
Right. They're available. They're familiar with some basic econ concepts, and they're pretty good at picking up the rules of the experiment.
Okay, that makes sense. But does that, like, skew the results?
Yeah. It's a valid point.
Yeah.
Students aren't exactly representative of the whole population.
Yeah.
But on the other hand, they do have some advantages
Okay.
because they're all relatively similar in age and background.
Yeah.
It means their responses are probably less influenced by those outside factors.
Okay.
So the researchers get a cleaner look at the effects of the experiment itself.
Okay, so it's a trade-off.
Yeah, a trade-off between being representative and having that controlled environment.
But have they started to move beyond just using students?
Absolutely. Researchers, they're getting more and more interested in diversifying the participant pool. They're studying professionals like bankers and traders,
Oh, wow.
children, to see how, economic understanding develops over time,
Okay.
and even running experiments across different cultures.
Wow, that's really expanding the horizons of the field.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
And with all these online platforms popping up,
Yeah.
they can reach way more people, a much more diverse group of people.
Cool.
So it's really opening up a ton of possibilities for research.
This is seriously cool. It's like the whole world's becoming one giant economics lab.
It kind of is.
Before we wrap up part one here, I think we should take a minute to appreciate what we've learned so far.
Yeah, good idea.
We've seen that experimental economics, it's not just about boring theories and complicated equations. It's about understanding how real people make decisions in the real world.
Yeah, the messy, fascinating world we live in.
And we've busted that myth that everyone's perfectly rational and only cares about maximizing their own profit.
Right, we're not all robots.
Instead, we've seen that people care about fairness, they care about reciprocity,
Exactly.
and that's a huge deal.
It is.
And we've explored how much thought goes into designing these experiments, how they use real money, how they structure the games, who they involve. It's all really impressive.
Yeah, there's so much careful consideration that goes into it.
I'm already starting to see the world differently after learning all this.
That's the power of experimental economics. It really makes you challenge those assumptions
Yeah.
and rethink how you see yourself and the world around you.
Stay tuned for part two, where we'll dive even deeper into the world of experimental economics.
Yeah, can't wait to get into it.
We'll be exploring more groundbreaking experiments
More cool stuff.
and talking about what they mean for understanding human behavior.
Should be fun.
It's going to be great. Welcome back to our deep dive into experimental economics.
We've already learned so much, haven't we?
It's crazy how quickly we've gone from thinking people are totally rational to like, wait a minute.
Yeah, that idea of perfect rationality kind of went out the window with that LA paradox, didn't it?
Totally. Turns out we're not always the calculating machines that economists used to think we were.
Definitely not robots.
No, not at all. And then those games, the ultimatum and dictator games, they really showed us how much fairness matters to people,
Oh yeah, for sure.
even when it comes to like cold, hard cash.
It's pretty wild, right?
Hmm.
People are willing to walk away with nothing just because they think a deal isn't fair.
It really makes you think like, Are people actually that concerned with being fair, or are they just trying to not look greedy,
Mhm.
you know?
Yeah, it's a good question. And it really highlights how important it is to design these experiments carefully.
Right, right.
Remember all those different methodological choices we talked about in part one?
Yeah.
All the different ways they can set up these games?
Oh, yeah, all the types of games, the matching techniques, all that stuff.
Yeah, all of that. Those details, they're not just technicalities, they really matter because they help the researchers isolate specific factors and make sure the results are actually meaningful.
Okay, so it's about making sure the experiment is actually measuring what it's supposed to measure.
Exactly. For instance, remember the choice between hypothetical scenarios and using real money.
Yeah, our source really emphasized that using real money, like actual cash, is super important for getting accurate data.
Yeah, and there's a good reason for that.
Why is that?
Well, think about it this way. If you're just answering hypothetical questions, you're more likely to give the ideal answer.
Right, like the answer that makes you sound good.
Exactly. But when your own money is at stake, then you're forced to make decisions that actually reflect your true priorities.
Ah, so it's like the difference between saying you donate to a cause and actually writing a check.
Precisely. Real money introduces real consequences, and that's when people's true preferences come out.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
That's like a reality check on all those hypothetical scenarios.
I like it.
So yeah, that's just one example of how experimental economists are trying to control the variables in their experiments and get a more accurate picture of human behavior.
So are there other methodological choices that have a similar impact on the results?
Oh, absolutely. Another key distinction is between one-shot games and repeated games.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. One-shot games are like those ultimatum and dictator games we talked about, right?
Exactly. A single interaction, first impressions, no time for strategizing.
Like you're just going with your gut.
Exactly. Those immediate reactions, that's what one-shot games are all about. But then you have repeated games, which are more like watching a relationship unfold.
Ooh, I like that analogy.
So in a repeated game, you play multiple rounds, sometimes with the same people, and that lets the researchers see how behavior changes over time.
So it's like, do people learn from their past experiences? Do they try to build trust? Do they worry about their reputation?
Exactly. All of those dynamics can come into play in repeated games.
Okay, I can see how both types of games, one shot and repeated, can be really useful depending on what the researchers are trying to study.
Yeah, they each offer a different perspective.
It's like having different lenses to view human behavior through.
That's a great way to put it. And then, of course, there's the choice of stranger versus partner matching.
Oh, yeah, that one really stuck with me.
Yeah, it's amazing how just knowing whether you're interacting with a stranger or someone you'll see again can completely change the game.
Right, like imagine playing a repeated ultimatum game. I feel like my strategy would be totally different if I knew I was playing with the same person multiple times.
Absolutely. So how do you think your strategy would change?
Hmm. Well, if it's a stranger, I might be more tempted to, be a little cutthroat
Okay. Yeah.
because there's no long-term relationship at stake.
Right.
But if it's someone I'll have to interact with again, I'd probably try to be more fair, to build trust and avoid future conflicts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much what researchers observe in the lab. Yeah, partner matching tends to lead to more cooperation and trust, while stranger matching can result in more self-interested behavior.
It's kind of like the difference between like online dating and a long-term relationship, right?
That's a good one.
In online dating, you're more focused on making a good first impression,
Right.
but in a long-term relationship, you're building trust and understanding over time.
You nailed it. That's a perfect analogy for those different matching techniques.
So all these little details, they actually have a huge impact on the results of the experiment.
They really do.
It's like a giant puzzle where every piece matters.
Yeah, every piece contributes to the bigger picture. And it really highlights how much care and precision goes into designing these experiments.
Okay, so we've talked about one-shot versus repeated games,
Yeah.
stranger versus partner matching. What else was there?
Oh, right. Those two design approaches between subject and within subject.
Refresh my memory. What was the difference again?
Okay, so between subject design, each participant only experiences one condition. It's like comparing different groups of people and seeing how they respond to different situations.
Right, so it's like comparing apples to oranges, seeing how different types of people react.
Exactly. But within subject design, Each participant goes through multiple conditions.
Okay.
So it's like comparing apples to apples, seeing how one person's behavior changes across different scenarios.
So you're seeing how an individual adapts to different situations.
Exactly. It allows researchers to control for those individual differences and get a clearer picture of how specific factors are influencing behavior.
So it's like instead of comparing different people, you're comparing the same person to themselves in different situations.
Precisely. It's a more personalized view.
Okay, that makes sense.
Exactly.
So each of these choices, the incentives, the game structure, the matching techniques, the design approach, all of these things add another layer of understanding to the research.
They do. It's all about building up a more complete picture.
Okay, so it's really impressive how much thought goes into every detail.
Definitely. The goal is to create an environment that is as controlled and informative as possible so that researchers can really get to the heart of human behavior.
Okay, that makes sense. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about the people actually participating in these experiments. We talked earlier about how students are often used, but our source also mentioned this exciting trend of expanding the participant pool to include like professionals, children, even people from different cultures.
Yeah, it's a really fascinating development.
Yeah.
As experimental economics matures as a field, researchers are realizing how important it is to study diverse populations.
I mean, it makes sense, right? We can't just assume that college students are representative of everyone.
Yes. By including professionals, for example, researchers can get insights into decision-making in real-world settings, like in financial markets or businesses.
Yeah, like getting those insider perspectives.
And then you have the experiments involving children, which can tell us so much about how our economic understanding and decision-making skills develop over time.
Oh yeah, I'm imagining a bunch of kids playing the ultimatum game with candy.
Uh-huh. Could be. But seriously, those studies with children are really important for understanding those developmental processes.
Yeah, it's like watching those cognitive and social skills emerge.
Exactly. And by comparing children from different cultures, researchers can even explore how cultural values and norms shape economic behavior.
So it's not just about individual differences, it's about cultural differences too.
Exactly. And with the rise of online platforms, researchers can now recruit participants from all over the world, which allows for those cross-cultural comparisons and a much broader understanding of human behavior.
That's amazing. It's like experimental economics is breaking down those geographical barriers.
It really is. It's an exciting time to be in the field.
It's incredible to see how experimental economics is evolving and expanding its reach.
Yeah, the possibilities are really endless.
This is making me feel so optimistic about the future of research.
Me too. There's so much potential for groundbreaking discoveries.
So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, from those mind-bending experiments to all the meticulous design choices and the growing diversity of participants.
Yeah, we've been on quite a journey.
And what's really struck me is how experimental economics is not just about abstract theories, it's about understanding real people and using those insights to make a positive impact.
I completely agree. It's a field that's full of both intellectual challenges and practical applications.
It's clear that this field is not just for academics, it's about understanding ourselves and using that knowledge to make the world a better place.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, we've reached the end of part 2 of our deep dive. Stay tuned for part 3, where we'll wrap up our exploration and think about the bigger picture of what experimental economics means for our understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
I can't wait to continue the conversation in part 3.
And we're back for the final part of our deep dive into experimental economics.
It's pretty amazing how much ground we've covered.
It really is, you know?
Yeah.
We started this whole deep dive assuming people were basically rational, and now I'm not so sure anymore.
I know, right?
It really makes you think.
That's the beauty of this field, though. It really forces you to confront your assumptions about human behavior.
And sometimes even throw them out the window completely.
Sometimes, yeah.
Remember that Allais paradox we talked about?
Oh, yeah, that was a good one.
Even with something like money, which you think would be pretty straightforward,
You'd think so.
our decisions aren't always driven by pure logic.
Nope, not always.
Like that saying, we're not always logical, we're human.
Exactly.
It's so true.
The LA paradox was like an early clue that something more was going on.
Yeah.
Something more complex than just pure rationality.
Totally. And then those games, the Ultimatum and Dictator games, they really showed us how much fairness matters to people.
Oh, yeah. Those games were so insightful.
Even when it means potentially losing out on some cash.
It's like people are willing to sacrifice their own gains just to make sure things are fair.
It's really remarkable.
It is. It really challenges the traditional view of humans as purely self-interested beings.
Yeah, it makes you realize that we're not just these isolated individuals, we're social creatures. And we care about things like fairness and reciprocity.
Absolutely, those social factors play a huge role in our decision-making.
And that has implications for everything, from how we design policies to how we interact with each other on a daily basis.
It really does. It touches every aspect of our lives.
You know, one of the things that I find so fascinating about experimental economics is how it bridges that gap between theory and reality.
It does.
It takes those abstract economic models and tests them out in a controlled environment with real people.
Yeah, with real stakes.
So you're not just sitting in an ivory tower, you're actually gathering data on how people behave in the real world.
And sometimes that data can be really surprising.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It can challenge our assumptions and force us to rethink our understanding of how things work.
It's like holding a mirror up to human nature
I like that.
and seeing all of its complexities and contradictions.
Yeah, it's not always pretty, but it's definitely fascinating.
One of the things that our source highlighted was that a primary goal of experimental economics is to test those existing theories.
Right.
And it's amazing how often those theories don't actually hold up in the real world.
It's true, and that's where things get really interesting.
It's like those moments when the data tells a different story than what we expected.
Yeah, it's those moments that can lead to new discoveries and a deeper understanding.
Like those classic games, for example. They showed us that people aren't always motivated by pure self-interest. They're willing to punish someone who's being unfair, even if it means hurting themselves in the process.
Right, it's not always about maximizing your own gain. Sometimes it's about upholding those social norms.
Exactly. And those findings, they weren't just interesting anecdotes. They actually led to the development of a whole new field of economics.
Behavioral economics.
Yes. Which takes into account all of those psychological and social factors that influence our decision-making.
It's a much more realistic view of human behavior.
It's like recognizing that humans aren't robots.
Right? We're not just these perfectly rational, calculating machines.
We're driven by emotions, we're influenced by our social circles, and we're prone to all sorts of cognitive biases.
And by understanding all of those factors, we can start to design systems and policies that actually work for real people.
Exactly, like those retirement savings plans we talked about.
Oh yeah, that's a great example.
By understanding how people actually make decisions about saving for the future, behavioral economists have been able to design plans that encourage people to save more and achieve their financial goals.
It's all about using those insights from behavioral economics to nudge people in the right direction.
Yeah, to help them make choices that are beneficial for themselves and for society as a whole.
Exactly. It's like a win-win.
As we wrap up this deep dive into experimental economics, I'm really struck by the sheer scope and potential of this field.
I agree.
It's a field that's constantly evolving,
Always pushing the boundaries.
challenging our assumptions about ourselves and the world around us.
And ultimately, helping us to create a better future.
It's a reminder that there's always more to learn
Always.
and that the pursuit of knowledge should never stop.
I love that. So, to our listener, as you go about your day, take a moment to think about the decisions you're making,
Yeah, even the small ones.
even the small ones. Remember what we've learned about the forces at play, the rational and the irrational, the social and the personal. Use those insights to navigate the world with a little more awareness and maybe even a little more compassion. This has been The Deep Dive, encouraging you to keep exploring the mysteries of human behavior.